Hey everyone, it's Rose. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about all of the books that I've read recently, basically just wrapping up the last 2 months of my reading from 2021. I have a lot of books to talk about, so I'm just going to get right into it. First, we'll talk about the books that I read in November. I read 9 books in November. I think November was my best reading month last year in terms of amount of books read. First book that I read in November was Room Service by Maren Stoffels. This is, I think it's YA. I'm pretty sure it's YA. It feels like YA, but it's a thriller about, like a group of friends who get invited to like this party or something at a hotel, but then they realize like it's not a party. Somebody's like trying to kill them or something like that. I gave this book 2 out of 5 stars. I don't remember exactly how I felt about this book or any of these books, by the way. I failed to write down my thoughts, and it's felt like a lifetime since I've read any of these. So my input about these books is going to be very all over the place because I didn't write it down this time. But anyways, I gave this 2 out of 5 stars. I think it was just very like cheesy, cliche, predictable. I do remember the plot twist, and I think that was the only saving grace for this book. The next book that I read is In 5 Years by Rebecca Searle. I was very excited to read this because it's a romance, but I only ended up like sort of enjoying it. Like I gave it 3 stars. But I didn't really care about the characters as much as I thought I would, and it didn't really even feel like a romance. I did enjoy aspects of this book, like the main character and her friend I kind of liked. Like the friend was a little annoying. I listened to this on audiobook, by the way, and the way the narrator chose to speak as her friend, very annoying. Didn't like it. Very like saddish ending, but I didn't cry about it. So yeah, I'm like kind of disappointed that I didn't like this as much, but like I enjoyed it enough, I guess. The next book that I read was Girl Interrupted by Susanna Kaysen. This is a nonfiction. It's a memoir. Susanna got admitted to a mental facility when she was 17, and she is diagnosed with borderline personality disorder. In this book, she just talks about like her experience with mental illness and being in an institution for it, and like the girls that she met when she was there, and like how she gets treated as somebody with mental illness. The movie with Winona Ryder and Angelina Jolie is on Netflix now, so I have to watch it soon. I enjoyed reading this one. I did learn quite a bit about borderline personality disorder. Sometimes this could be hard to read because she does get into detail about some difficult topics. The next book I don't own, but I listened to on audiobook. I read The Light We Lost by Jill Santopolo. I can't even, like, I know what it's about, but I can't phrase it right. Like, I've sat here for like 2 minutes trying to figure out how to phrase it. But I was super disappointed by this book. How many stars did I give this? I gave this 2 stars. I didn't care about any of the characters or their relationship or really anything that was happening in the book. Like, I just didn't care. The ending was kind of sad, but I didn't cry about that ending either. And I don't like the way that she wrote the story. It's told in second person, I think. So, like, it's saying you did this, this, and this, and I said this to you. Honestly, I forgot that I read this book until I looked at my reading journal. The next books that I read were Heartstopper Volume 2 and 3. I loved these. I read the first volume in 2020, and it took me like a whole year to come back to these, but I loved them. I think the second one's my favorite, the third one is my second favorite, and the first one is my least favorite. Not like that I don't like it, it's just it comes after these 2. The fourth one came out, and it should be at my house in 2 days, and I'm so excited. Can't wait to read it. And I just heard that there's going to be a 5th volume, but it's going to be the last one. I'm so sad. But then the Netflix show is going to come out soon. I don't know when, but I know that it's going to come out soon. The second one is about them like getting more comfortable with each other, and it was just very sweet and I loved it. And the third one, they go on a school trip to Paris and they're trying to decide whether or not they want to tell people. I love them. I was smiling like an idiot like the whole time I was reading them. The next book that I read was Dear Evan Hansen. I read this on ebook. I read it because I thought I was going to be watching the movie, but then it wasn't free anymore, so I still haven't watched the movie. It's about this like loner boy. Like, he's such a loner. He has no friends. First day back at school, he like runs into this kid who's like mysterious, like dark person. Like, nobody knows them, nobody likes them, like they're kind of a bad person, but nobody really knows who they are. But anyways, then that kid commits suicide. Recent events lead his parents to think that Evan was Connor's best friend, and so now Evan is in like a pickle because he didn't tell them the truth and say like, no, we're not friends. So now he's like lying to his parents, like the kid's parents, and like all of these people that they were best friends. I gave it like 3.5 stars. Kind of forgot that I read it. So the next 3 books that I read, I didn't actually read them like back to back like this, but I decided to talk about them this way because like they're the same series, I guess. I read Maybe Someday, Maybe Not, and Maybe Now, all by Colleen Hoover. I have them. They're just upstairs and I didn't want to go get them. All romance. Maybe Someday is about Sydney and Ridge, who like live in the same apartment area. Like, their apartment buildings are like across from each other. Sydney breaks up with her boyfriend because her boyfriend is a douchebag, and like you'll see why. And she has like nowhere to go, and so Ridge and his 2 roommates take her in, even though they don't really know her, and you can assume romance, right? And then Maybe Not is a novella. It's about Bridget and Warren, who live with Sydney and Ridge. I enjoyed that one like slightly more than Maybe Someday. That one is a little more like steamier. Like, they're pretty steamy romances. Maybe Now, not so much. But Maybe Someday and Maybe Not, kind of steamy. Maybe Now, it's about kind of about all of them, but mostly about Maggie, who is a character in the first book. I enjoyed that one, but I think I would have enjoyed it more if it was like 100 pages shorter. The next book that I read was Some Things I Still Can't Tell You by Misha Collins. This is a collection of poetry. Misha is actually an actor. He was in Supernatural, which is like my favorite show ever. So that's how I know about this. He has like a storytelling style of writing poetry, and I thought that was very interesting. The next book that I read was Attached. This is a nonfiction about the different attachment styles in relationships, not just romantic relationships, but like family and like friendships. But it's mostly about like dating, but you can apply it to other relationships other than romantic ones. There's 3 different attachment styles. One is secure, one is anxious, and the other one is avoidant. And I wasn't surprised, but I was kind of annoyed and upset that the attachment style that I fall into is the anxious one. Like, I kind of already knew that. I didn't need this book to tell me that. I already knew, but this book just made it real, and I didn't know how to handle that for a little bit. But it also like tells you which attachment style is best suited for you, and it also talks about the anxious avoidant trap. If your attachment style is anxious and you are dating somebody, or you're trying to date somebody who has the avoidant attachment style, that one doesn't really work well, but it gives you like tips on how you can like try to make it work well, I guess. It's just, honestly, that book broke my heart because we're not going to talk about it, but it broke my heart. Honestly, it was like some very hard pills to swallow. But yeah, this book was very informative. Give it a read or a listen. Very helpful. And the last book that I'm going to talk about. The last book that I read in 2021 was Out of Love. This is a romance. This is not a spoiler, by the way. It says it on the back that this book starts at the end of the relationship, and then the story gets told like backwards. She starts at the end, so the end of the book is the beginning of the relationship. Very interesting way of telling the story. I've never read a book told that way. Really enjoyed this one. Like, I like freaking love this one. I am probably gonna read it again soon. It was very bittersweet. Oh yeah, I gave that book 4 stars. So those were all of the books that I've read recently. Let me know if you've read any of the books that I talked about in this video, or if you plan to read them now that I've told you about them. I will have my Instagram and my Goodreads linked in the description. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.